Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I bring you another episode of the emotional love story between James and Diep. In the previous episode, we saw Diep standing before an important turning point in her life. After years of working tirelessly, waking up before dawn when the sky was still dark, pushing her cart to the market through freezing mornings or scorching afternoons, Diep never once complained. She simply kept her head down, working diligently, saving every small profit she earned from the bundles of vegetables she carefully selected or the baskets of produce still carrying the scent of fresh soil. Day by day, her hands grew rough, her shoulders ached from the weight she carried, but her heart never grew cold. Each time she counted her savings, even if it was only slightly more than the day before, her eyes lit up with a quiet flame. To others, it was merely a small amount of money. But to Diep, it was the result of countless drops of sweat, endless patience, and many sleepless nights thinking about her future. And more importantly, within her began to grow something she had never dared to imagine. She wanted independence. She wanted a path of her own. She wanted to be confident enough to stand beside James, the man who had entered her life like a steady, gentle light. Diep understood clearly that James's father still carried doubts about her past. He did not believe she could bring his son a good future. And although Diep never voiced it, she always carried a heaviness in her heart. Not because someone's words had hurt her, but because she wanted to prove something. That she was worthy. That she was capable. That she was no longer the powerless, broken woman she once had been. There were times when Diep believed she could do nothing more than survive from one day to the next. Her past, filled with pain, still tightened her throat whenever the memories returned. But ever since she met James, since she felt his sincerity, his trust, and his unconditional love, Diep realized she could not remain where she was. She wanted to change. She wanted to move forward. She wanted to give her life meaning again. While standing behind her small stall at the market, watching the crowd come and go, Diep quietly dreamed of a different future, a day when she would no longer be just a simple vegetable vendor. She wanted to create something stable, something real, something that carried her name and her effort. She wanted to break free from the exhausting cycle of early mornings and lonely market afternoons. And above all, she wanted to show James's father, and the world, that she deserved to stand beside the man she loved. In the midst of all these thoughts, Diep felt a new strength rising within her. It was not the impulse of youth nor an unrealistic fantasy. It was the determination of a woman who had endured hardship, carried deep scars, and learned that only she could change her life. Today, looking back on everything she has been through, Diep no longer feels fear. The weight of others' judgment no longer crushes her. The future no longer makes her tremble. Instead, she feels calm, steady, and strong, the kind of strength that only those who have survived great pain can possess. So what will Diep do to prove herself? What will she build with her small but hard-earned savings? And how will she take the next step towards standing confidently beside James? Let's follow today's video to discover the next chapter of Diep's journey, a chapter filled with determination, growth, and heartfelt emotion. Diep carried that determination with her as she prepared to speak to James. That morning, when the first light of day slipped through the window and painted a warm golden hue across the small room, Diep stood quietly for a long moment in front of James's desk. She clasped her hands together, trying to steady her heartbeat. She had thought about this decision for months. But saying it out loud was something else entirely. James was reviewing documents at the time, but the moment he lifted his head, he noticed Diep standing there, slightly bowed, her eyes filled with resolve and a hint of nervousness. He smiled gently and set his pen down, as if sensing that something important was about to happen. "Diep, is there something you want to tell me?" His voice was soft, full of concern, making her heart tighten even more. Diep took a deep breath. She did not want to hesitate anymore, nor let her past insecurities hold her back. "James." She called his name quietly, yet every word carried unmistakable determination. "I want to open a clean vegetable and fruit shop. I have saved a bit of money, and I think it is time to rent a small space and try." When she finished speaking, Diep felt as though her own heartbeat echoed in the stillness of the room. But James looked at her with an expression she had never seen before, a mixture of surprise, emotion, and profound pride. He stood up and walked toward her slowly. When he reached her, he gently placed a hand on her shoulder, as if confirming that she truly meant what she said. "Diep." He spoke her name in a warm, steady voice that made tears threaten to rise in her eyes. "You are making me prouder than anything else ever could." Her eyes widened. She had not expected him to object, but she also had never imagined receiving such strong support. James continued, smiling yet completely serious. "If you are going to do it, do not make it small. Not just a little shop, Diep. I want you to have a real clean produce supermarket, a place with your name on it, managed by you, built by you." Diep froze. A supermarket. The idea felt far bigger and farther than anything she had dared to imagine. She had only hoped for a small space to sell the produce she knew so well. "James, I cannot." Her voice trembled. Not out of fear of failure, but because she was afraid of accepting something she did not yet believe she deserved. But James did not let her finish. He took her hand firmly, as if grounding every anxious thought inside her. "Do not say you cannot." His gaze was so unwavering that Diep could not look away. "This is your hard work. The result of every early morning, every heavy load, every scorching day and freezing dawn you endured just to earn a little more. I am only helping you become stronger. This path belongs to you." His words went straight into the deepest part of her heart, the part she always tried to hide. She remembered every misty morning pushing her cart, every time customers bargained so harshly she barely made a profit, every moment her shoulders ached as though they might give out. All of it was her effort. She had never asked anyone for anything. She had never depended on anyone to survive. So when James said, "This is your hard work," something inside her broke free, a silent chain she had carried for years. She looked down at her own hands, then at his hand holding hers, warm, steady, and full of trust. A trust she knew not everyone would give her. The room fell quiet for a few seconds, but it was not the silence of discomfort. It was the silence of a turning point, the moment Diep realized that her dream could be larger than anything she had allowed herself to believe. James stood there, waiting for her answer with a gentle smile, pride glowing in his eyes. And in that moment, Diep understood. The road ahead of her was opening, wider, brighter, and more meaningful than ever before. In just a short time, the interior of the supermarket had been completed to a level that even Diep, who had followed every step of the process alongside James, could not help but feel overwhelmed when she stepped through the doors on the final morning before the grand opening. The display shelves were arranged neatly, each light-colored rack placed exactly where it belonged. Fresh vegetables were grouped by type, crisp, vibrant greens in the first row, followed by layers of neatly arranged root vegetables and colorful produce. The deep green of water spinach, mustard greens, and lettuce blended with the orange, red, and yellow hues of carrots, pumpkins, and tomatoes, creating a lively tableau of freshness. The entire space seemed to pulse with life, and Diep could not look away. The fruit section on the right was also ready, trays filled to the brim with rows of glossy red apples, plump purple grapes, fragrant golden oranges, and even seasonal fruits she once only saw in the shopping baskets of wealthier customers. Yet today, all of them were displayed inside the supermarket that bore her name. The vibrant colors made her feel as though she were standing in a vast garden, carefully tended down to the smallest detail. In the back corner, the clean packaging area had been completed as well. The green and white packaging she and James had chosen was neatly stacked inside the cabinet, waiting to be used. The sealing machine, electronic scale, and preparation counter, everything was brand new, polished, and gleaming as if they themselves were eager to serve Diep's dream. Bright lights filled the space with a pristine glow. The fresh scent of vegetables blended with the cool air from the refrigeration system, creating an atmosphere so pleasant that even the pickiest customer would pause just to take it in. Diep stood at the center of the new supermarket, a place where every corner held her savings, every detail reflected her effort, and every shelf represented the countless mornings she woke before sunrise to haul produce to the market. The vast, radiant space made her chest tighten. She raised a hand to her lips, trying to steady the trembling breath threatening to escape, eyes reddening with emotion she could no longer hold back. She had once dreamed only of a small shop. A tiny space, just enough to prove her hard work meant something. But what stood before her now far exceeded anything she had ever dared imagine. James had been standing behind her for a while. He did not speak immediately, simply watched her small frame trembling slightly with emotion. He knew that for Diep, this space was more than a supermarket. It was a turning point. A declaration. A testament to all the silent, exhausting, unacknowledged years she had endured. He stepped forward and gently placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture that both steadied her and affirmed that everything she was seeing was indeed real. "You deserve all of this." The words fell slowly, clearly, stopping Diep's breath for a moment. Not because he was praising her. Not because he wanted to make her happy. But because he was stating a truth she had never allowed herself to believe. Diep turned to him, her eyes shimmering with tears. In that moment, she was not only moved by how beautiful the supermarket was. She was moved because someone believed in her, someone who saw her worth even when the entire world once turned away. She remained still for a long time, letting her heart quietly capture every detail. The gleaming shelves, the vibrant fruit display, the spotless preparation area, the sign bearing her name. And finally, James's hand resting on her shoulder, warm and steadfast. For Diep, that moment marked the transformation of her dream. It was no longer something distant. No longer something fragile. No longer something she only dared imagine. It had become real. A reality so beautiful she struggled to find words for it. The excitement began early, even before the sun had fully risen above the tall buildings. The street in front of the supermarket was livelier than usual. The decoration team had arrived at dawn, inflating clusters of colorful balloons and tying them into long garlands that curved around the entrance. Large grand opening banners were hung high, their blue and white theme standing out and grabbing the attention of anyone who passed by. Upbeat music filled the area, blending with the cheerful chatter of the crowd. It felt as though everyone could sense the anticipation in the air, the feeling of witnessing a special moment not only for Diep, but for the entire neighborhood. People gathered in large numbers. Some came out of curiosity. Some because of the promotion for the grand opening of the clean produce supermarket. And many others came simply to see Diep, the small, quiet girl whom everyone knew had endured so much hardship, now standing before a place this bright and beautiful. Diep appeared in a pure white dress, soft and graceful yet far from fragile. It was the first time she dressed up formally for an event that belonged entirely to her. Her hair was tied loosely, her makeup simple but highlighting her natural innocence and gentleness. When she stood next to James at the entrance, it was as if the entire scene brightened around them. Beside them was little Nee, her tiny face glowing with a wide smile as she hugged the bouquet of balloons James had prepared especially for her. Each time the balloons swayed, Nee giggled, her innocent laughter bringing even more joy to the morning. LytutUca and CEO Hung arrived shortly after, carrying a bouquet so large that Diep gasped in surprise. LytutUca placed the flowers in Diep's hands and teased playfully. "Congratulations, sis. You look absolutely stunning today." Hung nodded with his familiar calm smile. "Congratulations. I know you will do very well." Then came friends, neighbors, people who had bought vegetables from Diep at the market, regular customers who had always supported her. Everyone was there, wanting to share this important moment with her. Amid all the excitement, James leaned slightly toward her and asked in a gentle, proud voice, "Diep, are you ready?" She took a breath, feeling his hand on her back, giving her strength. She nodded, a nod more certain than anything she had ever done. "All right," James smiled. "Let's begin." The scissors sliced through the red ribbon with a clean, sharp sound. Cheers erupted instantly, rolling across the entrance and down the street. The supermarket was officially open. Crowds poured inside. Customers moved in and out non-stop. The sound of the cash register rang continuously. Staff hurried to check products and restock shelves to keep up with the overwhelming number of shoppers. Diep was so busy she barely had a moment to stand still. She guided customers to different sections, helped with packaging, rushed to the entrance to greet familiar faces who came to support her. But even with all the exhaustion, the smile on her face never faded. It was a smile not just of happiness, but of pride, the pride of watching her dream in motion, alive and growing right before her eyes. From a distance, James stood observing everything. He watched Diep intently, the way she moved quickly yet gracefully, the way her face glowed beneath the supermarket lights, the natural warmth she gave each customer. To him, that image was more beautiful than any promise, any dream, any ambition he had ever imagined. In that moment, James understood that today was not just the opening of a supermarket. It was the day Diep truly began her journey to prove herself. Not to fight anyone. Not to respond to anyone's judgment. But to show his father, and herself, that she fully deserved a future filled with goodness, dignity, and hope. And James knew with absolute certainty, this was only the beginning. The grand opening came to a close in laughter, in warm congratulations, and in the radiant happiness shining on Diep's face. She stood at the entrance of the supermarket, now dimly lit, looking into the vibrant space she had built with her own hands, her heart suddenly light, yet overflowing with pride. James stepped beside her and draped a jacket over her shoulders. "You did wonderfully. And this is only the beginning." Diep leaned gently against him, watching the silhouettes of people still passing by in the distance. The city lights reflected in her eyes like newly born hopes. She knew the road ahead would hold many challenges. But today, she had taken a long, meaningful step forward, a step of faith, effort, and growth. And then, an unexpected message appeared on James's phone. He glanced at the screen, his expression stilling for just a moment, brief, but enough to hint that something was coming. Diep looked up. "Is something wrong?" James smiled, trying to reassure her, yet his voice could not hide a subtle seriousness. "Tomorrow. I will tell you." The air seemed to pause for a heartbeat, as if signaling that a new shift was approaching. Stay tuned for the next episode tomorrow to discover what was in that mysterious message, and where will Diep's journey lead next. See you in the upcoming episode.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình nha. Ôi trời ơi, mình tự nhiên mình ấn vào cái này sao làm bị không làm được cái việc gì hết trơn ạ. Bữa nay mình quyết định sẽ đi tắm sớm. Người nó như muốn ốm ấy ta. Cảm ơn mọi người rất là nhiều nha. Chồng yêu, nhiệm vụ phơi quần áo của chồng yêu trên nào. Yêu phơi quần áo chưa? Phải rửa bát rồi mà. Mà chồng yêu không phơi quần áo. Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình nha. Ôi trời ơi, mình tự nhiên mình ấn vào cái này sao làm gì vậy? Không làm được cái việc gì hết trơn ạ. Bữa nay mình quyết định sẽ đi tắm sớm. Người nó như muốn ốm ấy ta. Cảm ơn mọi người rất là nhiều nha. Chồng yêu, nhiệm vụ phơi quần áo của chồng yêu trên nào. Yêu phơi quần áo chưa? Phải rửa bát rồi mà. Mà chồng yêu không phơi quần áo.